Unit 12, Computer Security.
All right, why don't we get started here? I'm quite sure that everyone in the class uses a computer regularly. For instance, who uses email every day? Right, just about everyone. How many of you use the internet, say, at least 5 times a week? The same, just about everyone in the room. I think we would all agree that our lives have been changed and in many ways improved by the computer and the internet. However, there are real dangers here. The fact is, computers and computer networks have created opportunities for crime that never existed before. As a result, the police and justice departments are becoming increasingly concerned about the growing number of computer users who are accessing private or secret information. Now, this problem is on the increase worldwide. Statistics are showing a trend toward more computer crime every year. In fact, recent studies have shown that around 70% of all companies that are online have experienced some type of attack. We can say that there are 3 reasons for these dangers. Now, first, personal computers hold huge amounts of information, and some of it's quite sensitive. Companies have sensitive business information, new products, and financial records to protect. Governments have defense secrets, federal banks, and records for millions of citizens. We've found that the theft of information is usually financially motivated. Some companies try to get information from their competitors by accessing information from computers. Computer criminals also access and steal information in order to sell it to other people or competing companies. Again, their purpose is usually financial gain. Okay, in the first case, the criminal steals information and then possibly sells it. The second reason for computer crime is to steal money directly. Banking, insurance, and business organizations use computers for most of their transactions, making them the hardest hit by computer criminals. Now think about this for a moment. The American banking system alone transfers over $400 billion every day. With this amount being transferred daily, it's no wonder that experts fear that a major financial disaster could occur. Now, you may be interested to know that between $1 and $3 billion are lost each year in the U.S. through computer crime. And 40% of large American companies suffered at least one major instance of computer fraud in the last 10 years. Can you imagine? 40%. We can see from these figures how serious a problem this is. I call the people who commit these crimes computer criminals rather than hackers, because hackers may not be motivated by financial gain. Now, this is how a typical scenario might go. A computer criminal, let's call the criminal a he, figures out how to get into a bank network. He changes account names and numbers and puts money into a bank account that he has already opened. He then withdraws the money from the account, which is, of course, not in his real name. His crime has just made him rich. In case you were wondering, this has actually happened many times in the past. In companies, goods can be stolen and inventory, that is the list of goods, and sales figures can be changed to cover up the problem. Mailing addresses can also be temporarily changed so that expensive or valuable items are sent to the criminal's address. The accounts can then be changed back to the original addresses. Sometimes they don't detect this type of robbery for months or years, so it's impossible to find the criminal because the records have been changed back. Now remember, these things are not just stories. They have really happened. All right, let's consider the third reason for computer crime, which involves hacking, that is, breaking into someone else's private computer network, often that of a company or agency. Now, hacking can take place for various reasons, but it tends to be done by individuals, not organized groups. And those individuals are typically young men in their teens or 20s. Some apparently do it for the challenge, while others feel angry at society or feel powerless in their everyday lives. Hacking provides such people with something they can't get elsewhere: an exciting and complex challenge, an opportunity to show how much they know, and a sense of importance. Now that we've considered some of the causes of hacking and computer crime, let's consider the effects. Well, the events that have occurred in the past 20 years are astonishing. On more than one occasion, computers all over the world have been shut down as a computer virus has raced around the planet. In less than 24 hours, billions of dollars in work hours have been lost. Computers in major companies and even major software companies have been shut down completely. In one case, approximately 70% of the computers in several European countries were shut down. Even government computers were affected. How can this happen? Easy. The transmission of a simple virus program. Even beginning students of computer science can make powerful viruses that can do everything I've just mentioned. They can write a virus program and send it via the internet to hundreds of computer users. The virus enters the user's computer's operating system, replaces good files with a copy of itself, and then sends itself to other computers via the computer user's email address book. Soon, millions of computers can be infected. Now, there's a whole other side to this problem that is more closely related to your life. Imagine that a computer criminal is able to get, let's say, your credit card number. In the best-case scenario, this will cause you a great deal of inconvenience. And in the worst-case scenario, it will cause you financial loss. Another possibility is that someone may get your Social Security number, then they can impersonate you. This can lead to serious problems and huge costs in terms of time spent solving the problem and the stress involved. The more powerful a technology is, the more potential there is for problems. Well, I've tried to give you some background about the seriousness of the problem, but now I'd like to briefly talk about the battle between hackers and computer criminals on the one side, and the people and companies interested in preventing these problems on the other. What's being done to stop computer crime? First, the courts are getting much tougher with hackers, the people who illegally enter a computer network, even if they claim not to be stealing anything. The courts are also now punishing computer criminals more severely in order to give potential criminals a strong message that computer crime is serious, and if you're caught doing it, you'll be punished. Some of these criminals have gone to federal prison for several years and been fined large sums of money. This is seen as a way to discourage people from experimenting with this new type of crime. Now, within a company or other organization, firewalls are the first line of defense, the first way to deter computer crime. A firewall is a software program that acts as a gatekeeper between the Internet and a company's intranet. That's INTRANET, the network of computers used by the company's employees. Now, one type of firewall examines the source address and destination address of all of the data going in or out of the network. It can stop some data from entering the network and other data from leaving. However, firewalls can't protect networks from all attacks. In the past, hackers have often gotten around a firewall by accessing the network from a modem that an employee has brought in on his or her own without talking to the system administrator. Now, such employees are also trying to find an easy route around the firewall, usually because they want to access data on their work computer from home. These paths must also be closed. So if you have a colleague who is doing this sort of thing, you should definitely talk to them because they're opening a door for potential hacking. And another way to increase security is through the use of less obvious and less easily remembered passwords. For instance, employees are often advised to never use a person's name, such as Nancy. Here's why. Many hackers use programs that are called password guessers. These programs check every word in a large dictionary, all of the names in an encyclopedia, and then they use each entry in a local telephone book. As you can guess, if you have used almost any word in your local language, the hacker will eventually find out what it is and then be able to get into your system. Now, the most difficult passwords to guess are a combination of small and capital letters, numbers, and punctuation marks, such as capital Y, 0, 3, exclamation point, small m. Try finding that with a password guesser. In addition, passwords should be told to the minimum number of people. Okay, a fourth method concerns access control software, something which has become quite common. Now, this software limits the user's access to information as well as the operations he can perform. So, for example, access control software might only let people read certain files or programs, but not input data, and it may keep them out of other files entirely. Many universities use this type of software. Computer system administrators at the school can access the entire system. Teachers can access a great deal of it, but not as much as the system administrators. And finally, students can access fewer areas than the teachers. It works on a need-to-know or need-to-use basis. Encryption software has also been developed to scramble data so that hackers can't understand it even if they do steal it. The data can be read and used only if the user knows the key. Now, this is a very effective way of protecting information. Encryption has developed rapidly since the 1980s, so now all of us can have access to fast, affordable, and powerful encryption systems. These systems are already resistant to the average hacker, and in a few years, only government or military supercomputers will be able to break most codes. And finally, audit trails, that's AUDIT trails, are also available. Audit trails monitor the use of a computer and alert owners to any attempts to enter their computer system. It's usually possible to identify any user who gains access to the system and when the access occurred, making it possible to trace the hacker. Although this isn't simple to do, it can be done, particularly if the hacker persists and returns for repeated attacks on the system. One way that some hackers have been caught has been when the system administrator has what is called a jail-ready. Valuable-looking but false information is put in the jail. This might be something like credit card numbers or other sensitive financial data. When the hacker tries to get the false data, the administrator uses software to determine where the hacker is. The software follows the line of data back to the hacker's computer. Well, those are some of the major things that are happening at present to decrease computer crime. None of them are completely satisfactory, but together they're certainly helping to maintain the integrity of personal and corporate computer systems and communications. And these changes, as well as the improvements that are certain to come, should influence people to stop hacking by making it less profitable and more risky. And this will help ensure confidentiality when communicating via computer. Well, let's stop here for today and get started with your presentations. Our first speakers, Carlos and Yumi, are scheduled to talk about encryption systems.